Coronavirus. It's all we're hearing about right now. Today, we're going to talk about what we need to know, the bare basics, the misinformation, the conspiracy theories, the fake news, the free porn, everything. And as concisely as possible, we're going to break down in this episode of Deconstructing the Culture. I am your host, Elisa Steele. You notice how overnight all of your friends, specifically your Facebook friends and Instagram friends, have become infectious disease experts? Like, legit, didn't you know that Susie and Karen and Rick and Marsha and Dan, all of them, they know everything, don't you know? And you know what? When anything ever happens in our economy and with our president and through our news, don't you know all they have to do is watch the news and watch the president? They can see right through, they know every detail, and they are experts. Yeah, that's how the world is acting right now. And here I'm going to let you in on a not so secret. Nobody knows what the heck they're talking about. Not your best friend from down the street, not your favorite Fox News anchor analyst. All of them are just, for the most part, acting like they know what the heck they are talking about, and they don't. And I'm going to be totally straightforward heading into this. Listen at your own risk. I don't know what I'm talking about either. And that's the truth about all of us. None of us know what the heck we're talking about. Here we are, and this is, I think, and we can throw stones at both sides, right and left right now. But right now, our number one issue is lack of information. And then on top of that, too much information that's mostly conjecture, mostly theories, and mostly opinionated, made up stuff. And that comes from both sides right now. Every action that's happening, whether it's a school closing or a church closing, all of a sudden we are experts. What people have probably, organizations especially, have spent hours debating and agonizing over and trying to find the right solution, they announce it, and all of a sudden you know instantly. And the news anchor on TV knows instantly whether they were right or wrong to do that, because they know all the details, don't they? So here's the thing, you Facebook moms, you Instagram dads, and those of you who are reporting information from a friend of a friend whose sister is a nurse at a hospital that's not even dealt with coronavirus. Yeah, they're experts. No, they're not. You're not experts. I'm not an expert. Everybody on the news, they're not experts. Now, we can take our best steps forward trying to follow actual expert information and try to make educated, informed, wise decisions on the best available information. But when I say best available information, I don't mean what your great aunt's best friend who works at a hospital has to say about coronavirus in a Facebook post that's been shared 100,000 times. It doesn't mean it's valid. It doesn't mean it has any real wisdom to it. They're opinionated just like you and I. Now, here's the thing. Am I taking precautions with coronavirus? Yes. But that has a lot less to do with coronavirus and a whole lot more to do with the fact that I'm from Utah, and Utahns, we are preppers by nature, I think. Has probably a lot to do with LDS culture, but I'll get into that more later. So am I prepared? Yes, I'm prepared, but I'm also perpetually prepared for hurricane season. And when I didn't live in the state of Florida, I was perpetually prepared for any natural disaster because I believe in being prepared. So I'm not telling you to not be prepared. I am asking you to move forward with wisdom, taking precautions. You should always be washing your hands. That's one of the concerning things that I find to be humorous is all of a sudden the hand sanitizer and the soap is all gone. What were y'all doing before the hand sanitizer and the soap was fully stocked? Were you not washing your hands? Like, needless to say, I really hope you are washing your hands currently and that you were washing your hands before. And let's leave it at that. Now, here's the thing. I have recently been tagged in, especially on Instagram, but all over on social media, I've been tagged by a lot of people on some very interesting conspiracy theories. Now, I am not going to 100% judge every theory out there because they are running wild. And also, I don't really know whether or not they have 100% validity, but I'll be honest with you, the people promoting these conspiracy theories, they also don't know. It's legit just people running away with their imaginations for the most part, if you ask me. I've heard some crazy ones, like this entire virus was created and planted just to kill Trump's economy so that he wouldn't be reelected for president. And then I have to ask myself, if this was legit just planted, do you really think that? And here's the other thing too, is people are saying this is all media mask conspiracy theory. This is all just fake news. And I have to ask you, for those of you, or if you know people who are asking this or saying these exact same things, ask them, do you really think that large, huge companies that employ hundreds of thousands of people like Disney are shutting down because they're watching CNN, and CNN supposed fake news is telling them they need to shut down Disney, so they're taking cues from CNN? No, that's ludicrous. No company, big or small, is going to shut down their business because they're watching CNN. If they're shutting down their business, there is some validity, wouldn't you say? They're not watching CNN and deciding top down to shut down their companies. No, they're talking to actual experts and making decisions based on liability and public health and public safety. I've heard other ones. It's some of my favorite, most ridiculous ones I've heard from the right are people saying, well, don't you see? Don't you see the trail of conspiracy? You see, the media, they lied and it was fake news about Kavanaugh. And you see, they lied about the Russia collusion and it was fake news. And don't you see? Now they're lying about coronavirus and it's all fake news to kill our economy. Really? So you're going to tell me that because our media has messed up and become very opinionated in some areas, and because our media has definitely been less than honest in some circumstances, that now everything and anything that they say is a conspiracy against Trump? Come on. Give me a break. Please tell me you have more brain cells than that. No, am I saying that our media is totally trustworthy and you should take everything they say at face value? Absolutely not. I'm a conservative. I know what this side is like. I work against the mainstream media. Much of what I do is shut down by our social media and mainstream media because they don't want to hear conservative points of view. Like, I get it. I'm the first one to criticize the media, but don't try and tell me that this is legitimately a fake news conspiracy like Kavanaugh. You're gonna take a couple of lies or a lot of lies and then say because of all this now this is fake. What? No. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're conservatives. You're supposed to be better than that, okay? And yeah, I get it. Our media is not super trustworthy. They do lean very far to the left. But the truth is, not everything is conspiracy against Trump. And on top of that, should we trust them 100%? Absolutely not. No, we shouldn't. But the fact is, this is affecting the entire world. Take some action, take some precautions, take some notice of what's going on around you in the world, and that not everything is about Trump, that this has started and worked through other countries long before it hit America. And does the media have a bias against Trump? Yes, absolutely. For a while, you had some of the mainstream leftist media trying to call this Trump virus, which is utterly ridiculous. And then, of course, we saw Nancy Pelosi just try and disgustingly push through abortion funding as part of coronavirus help, in some legislation, which didn't end up happening, thank God. But she tried to, I think it was funding for I think it was like over $1 billion that would help going towards abortion. What does abortion have to do with the coronavirus? Nothing. So yes, the left does have an agenda, and yes, we should be wary of it. And then I'm also not going to be, especially as a conservative, I'm not going to be that person telling you listen to the government, everything the government says is correct all the time. No, I'm not going to be that person either. Obviously you should be wary. As conservatives, we know over time big government can sometimes go askew. So yes, we should be aware, take precautions. As always, be prepared, whether that means with food or with home protection, whatever it means to you to be prepared. but you should always be prepared regardless of any coronavirus. Now, some other, oh God, oh my goodness, let me tell you, some of the other conspiracy theories I have heard are insane. Wow. But I just have to say, before I tell you some of the other crazy ones I've heard, that if your first thought about coronavirus is whether this hurts or helps Trump, may I suggest that maybe you're doing being a human wrong, because not everything has to do with Trump. And sometimes we can just be concerned human beings and care about what's going on in the world, and not always what it has to do with Trump. Trump is just one man in this world. Yes, he happens to be the president of the most powerful, prosperous nation in the world, but he is not the center of our universe, okay? Now, some of these other crazy ones that I've heard are that somehow Trump planted this virus and that he did it to clean the swamp, to drain the swamp, and that somehow only the elites are getting sick because it's cleaning house, and that somehow this economic crash is all planned by Trump to take us back to the gold standard. Just ludicrous stuff. One guy was literally saying that everything he believed about this was confirmed because he talked to a random lady whose name he didn't even know on an airplane, and the lady somehow claimed to work for JP Morgan, and that this was all planned and everybody knew about it, about this economic crash coming, and then it was all planned to bring us back to the gold standard, don't you know? Just ridiculous stuff that they're making up. Conspiracy theorists thrive during times like this. They thrive. And I mean, there are so many other conspiracy theories I've heard. These are just tip of the iceberg. I'm sure you could throw some crazy ones at me that you've heard too. But the truth is I just want you to take note that during times of crisis or unrest or unsettle or any kind of change, conspiracy theories run wild. Now is not the time, I would say any time, to go down that bunny trail. Don't get distracted. Don't take your focus off of your family and your life to go down crazy theories, because as human beings, of course, we want everything to make sense. And for some people, that means clinging to conspiracy theories because that makes their world make sense. That does not mean it's the right thing to do or a good thing to do. And it definitely doesn't make it true just because your brain can somehow justify it, or some people's brains can. Now, here's the truth. Nobody actually knows 100% what they're talking about. Even the experts are admitting they're still figuring this out. They're still learning every day how this works, how the virus is spreading, who it's spreading to, how it's affecting people. Now, as time goes on, we are learning more, obviously, but may I just suggest, find actual information. Don't just believe everything that you read on Facebook or on the news, but listen to experts. And at the same time, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some information is legitimate, and it doesn't mean that just because there was misinformation there once that you need to throw every shred of information out, because that is called going to one extreme or the other. Now, before we go on, if you could just remember to subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. Share with somebody who's really going overboard one direction or the other, because we really need some common sense. Something that I do want to bring up that has been troubling me in the last couple of weeks, since coronavirus has been everything that everybody talks about on social media and in the news, is the callousness towards human life, especially when it comes to our weaker forms of human life. So for instance, this is actually brought to you an article from Live Action, and they mentioned that coronavirus panic exposes society's selective concern about human life. Now, many have revealed a shockingly calloused attitude towards the people most likely to be affected by the virus, and that's the elderly. At this time, coronavirus appears to be not as dangerous towards children as those of advanced age, according to the CDC. The people who are high risk are the elderly, and as usual, Twitter showcases cruelty, where the hashtag boomer remover hashtag has been trending. The Atlantic also spotlighted a similar mindset, which is spreading among younger Americans. You guys, this is just tragic. I just want to point out this is wrong, and it's wrong to disregard the value of human life. It doesn't matter the age, and especially as pro-lifers, as people who believe in the sanctity of life for the unborn, and we're always talking about protecting the most vulnerable among us, we should be the last people to say, well, oh, this only affects old people, so whatever. I would suggest that most of us, if not all of us, have an elderly person in our life we should be concerned about. For me, that's my grandfather in an assisted living home. That's my grandmother who lives on her own. That's my friends and neighbors who are elderly. We should be concerned as a society and having a me first selfish attitude of, well, like, oh, well, I'm under the age of 60, so I'm fine. No, we are Christians above all else, but we're pro-lifers. We believe in the sanctity of life. And if we're going to preach a message of believing in the sanctity of human life for all human life, then that means the elderly too, not just the unborn. That's why we're also against assisted suicide if you're a conservative and a Christian. Continuing this article, they quote a couple of young conversations. Quote, I heard a guy who looked to be in his 20s say that it's not a big deal because the elderly are gonna die anyways. Then he and his friend laughed. Maybe I'm lucky that I had awesome grandparents and maybe this guy didn't, but what is wrong with people? Another one is, quote, to be perfectly honest, and this is awful, but the young, watching as the elderly over and over choose their own interests instead of climate policy kind of feels like they're wishing us to a death they won't have to experience. It's sad, but a bit of fair play, unquote. That is an awful thing to say. And yet, these are just a couple of examples that are quoted in this article, but I myself, as I'm probably sure you have too, have seen over and over on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, I've seen people be like, well, only old people are gonna get really sick or be really at risk to die. Wow. Wow, the callousness towards human life. The truth is, all life matters. And as Live Action founder and president Lila Rose addressed in a recent tweet, she said, the elderly are just as precious as the young. Your value, doesn't change based on how many years you have left or how healthy you are, unquote. And I absolutely agree with Lila. You see, every life has a value, and it's not acceptable to treat some people as if they aren't worth saving or aren't worth protecting because of illness, disability, or age. Each human being has intrinsic dignity and worth, and it doesn't change because a stronger people in the world would decide otherwise. Now, with that said, I want to tell you, I'm a Utah girl, as I've mentioned from time to time. And if you're not familiar with Utah culture, let me just give you a brief glimpse into the world I grew up in, which is everyone's a prepper to some degree or another. And I think it has a lot to do with the LDS or Mormon influence. It's kind of just something that's standard taught in the Mormon world, is to have food storage and to be prepared for any kind of natural disaster or any kind of health, just any crisis. And I can't cite to you like any specific doctrine. I just know that this is the culture I grew up in. So like my parents, I remember growing up, we have massive, massive containers of water with like water purification, like stuff in it to like keep it good. And like we have years worth of canned goods that we canned ourselves, mind you. I've spent years of my childhood and teenagehood and adulthood canning preserves and canning green beans and canning corn, and this is after I picked it all, of course, with my siblings and my family. So I grew up in a very like self-sufficiency is very ideal kind of culture. So like I think it was the first Christmas my husband and I were married, so it's like 6 months into our marriage, the first gift that my parents give us is like a 1 month food supply of like dehydrated food. And that brings us to some of my main tips. These are not, I'm going to say this very clearly, these are not coronavirus tips. And also I should mention, no, you should not be hoarding toilet paper. I don't know why you would be hoarding toilet paper. I'm just going to point out something that's gross but obvious to me. I feel like if you're that concerned about toilet paper, there's the old-fashioned way of just taking an old towel, cutting it up, and you use old towel strips and then you put them in the washer and bleach them. Like, I know that's disgusting and not really desirable or like anyone's first choice preference, but once upon a time, and for many people in the world, toilet paper is a luxury and you should not be concerned about toilet paper. Like, that is the last thing I am worried about. Now, granted, I'm speaking from a place where I have many, 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 many gallons of water and toilet paper, but because I always stay stocked on everything because I come from a Utah mentality, I have food storage because I am prepared for hurricane season and basically anything else because, again, this is the culture I come from. I just want to make a couple of suggestions for preparedness in general. These are not specific to coronavirus. These are just general preparedness tips and recommendations that I offer. And I am so sorry, the lighting is getting bad. I wonder if that light's going to help or just totally make it worse. You know what? Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to press pause and set up my light because this lighting is getting terrible. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I fixed our lighting issue for the most part, I think. Again, also for those of you who try and watch my podcast first thing on Mondays, I didn't get it out earlier today. I've been kind of sick lately, not with coronavirus. Continuing on. So these are a couple of my general best tips, best practices. This is not a comprehensive list. If you would like a comprehensive list, I'd look up any emergency preparedness list and they're going to give you a long list of everything that I keep in my home on a general basis. Is things that I never let myself run out of. That includes things like matches, candles, batteries, flashlights, battery operated radios, water, food for at least 3 months. And I don't mean like pasta in your pantry. I mean like actual food preparedness. Mine are in boxes set aside in 1 month increments, which I will. So also going into this, I want to tell you, I am not paid by any of the following companies that I'm going to mention that I personally recommend. Now, I wish I was being paid because that would be awesome. And if any of them want to sponsor me, I am totally open to it because I'm a huge believer in your products. But with that disclaimer said, a couple of the main things that I would recommend for general preparedness, whether that's now for you or maybe in the future if you want to be prepared like I am in general, I think every single human being should have at least at minimum of a 2-week food supply of food storage that you just set aside and kind of leave there. But I would look up a comprehensive list. It will give you a list of things that you should always have on hand. That includes first aid kit, medication, a lot of different things that I just keep in my attic or in my storage areas, wherever it is that I need to keep these various items. I'm huge on preparedness. And again, this has a lot to do with my culture. Now, 2 companies I want to recommend to you specifically for preparedness items is for food, My Patriot Supply. They're fantastic. They have several different kits or even just individual things that you can order. I think they even have, I don't think they have vegan, but I think they have vegetarian kits for like, you can buy like 1 month food supplies at a time and they're very well packaged. They'll last for like, I think they have a shelf life of like 25 years or something. But I really recommend them if you don't want to think through the headache of like how many calories a day do you need in an emergency situation or whatever. You want all the guesswork and brain work taken out of it, just go to My Patriot Supply. I'm telling you, if I could be sponsored by them, I totally would because I am a huge believer in their food supply products. They're awesome. Something I will recommend just as a general note, fats are really, really important in any time of crisis. And even just in general, you need healthy fats. So I always make sure that I have a stock of organic virgin olive oil, coconut oil, and like cacao or ghee butter. The truth is and just even in daily life, I'm huge on avocados. You need healthy fats, especially for your brain, to function properly or in a time of high stress. Your brain must have those healthy fats. So it's not enough to survive on pasta and granola bars. You need healthy fats. With that said, My Patriot Food Supply is a huge, an amazing help for people who are not familiar with what needs to go into a healthy food diet, especially in an emergency preparedness. So I really recommend them. My second and probably my favorite food just preparedness product in general is a Berkey water filter. I'm a huge Berkey filter fan. I use Berkey every single day in and day out, regardless of it being an emergency or not. A Berkey water filter is the best water filter on the market. Heads up, it does require that you get to know your filter and how to take care of it properly and maintenance. So you want to know what you're getting into. It's not like having a Brita water filter, which quite frankly, they suck. most water filters out there are not super great, I'm going to be honest with you. But they're the ones where it's just like, you just put the water in and then like every once in a while you change a filter. That's not exactly how a Berkey filter works. But my Berkey is amazing. All the Berkey, make sure you get it from the actual Berkey manufacturer. There's some scam websites out there, but Berkey water filters are amazing. They filter out everything. I legitimately, ever since we purchased ours, and I grew up using a Berkey filter too, I never worry about running out of water. Like even during hurricane season when everybody's panicking about water, and actually that's when you should be buying water. I have a pond in my backyard. I'm not worried about water. If there's any source of water, I can take pond scum water, old pool water. I can take any water and put it in my Berkey filter and it will come out perfect water. I most of the time daily, in my daily use, I just take my tap water, which has all kinds of chlorine and crap in it that I don't want to drink, and I put it through my Berkey filter and I use it daily. But in an emergency situation, it is the best filter by far on the market. So those two are my top two recommendations for preparedness. And I'm just going to throw this one out there. If you are in a position in life where you can be a responsible gun owner, I do think it's important to have a firearm in the home, just for general home protection, whether it's in an emergency situation or not. I think it's really important to have home protection. But with that said, you have to be a responsible gun owner. You have to know how to take care of your gun, clean your gun, shoot your gun responsibly, store your gun responsibly. So a gun comes with a lot more responsibility. But if you're in a position and age in your life, and legally in your life, that is a good step for you. I would definitely recommend that, especially in times of any kind of unrest. Whether that's hurricane season or an earthquake or coronavirus, I think having a home safety option is really important for you and your loved ones. So just going to throw that one out there. Now, before we go and end with good in the world, I am going to bring up two short headlines, a funny one and a sketchy one. The sketchy one is free porn. One thing that has really disturbed me is Pornhub. Like, I believe it's the leading porn site in the world, but it's definitely one of the largest porn sites, if it's not the largest porn site in the world. They're offering premium access to all the Italians quarantined currently through, I think, March or something. And to me, that's just despicable and disgusting. Like, seriously, if you're not familiar with my stance on pornography, go listen to my 2 episodes, Porn Kills Love, or I think it's titled Pornography Kills Love, and the other one is called No Porn November. Those two are going to give you everything, the basics of what you need to know about pornography in today's day and age. But the truth is, this Pornhub is essentially taking one public health crisis, which it has been declared a public health crisis in like a dozen states in the United States, roughly. I don't remember exactly. I just know it's like over 8. But you're taking one public health crisis and combining it with coronavirus public health crisis. It's just sketchy to me. It's just ew. It's just ooey. It's just dirty, because we know that porn harms people. It harms the consumer, the person watching it. It physically rewires and messes with the chemical makeup of your brain. Again, I talk about those in the 2 episodes I just mentioned. And pornography directly is connected to and fuels the human trafficking crisis in our world. So you're bringing human crisis trafficking, public health crisis changes in your brain, and combining that with coronavirus. Yeah, that's totally fixing the problem, Pornhub. No, you're adding to the adding to the problem by adding one health crisis with another. It's disgusting. So shame on Pornhub for that. I mean, shame on them for existing. They've systematically shown that they will post rape videos, porn revenge videos, terrible videos, and be notified over and over by the victims in the videos that, hey, this is put up there without my consent. Like, I'm being bullied over this. Women have committed suicide over these kind of issues, and they refuse to remove them or stop them from being re-uploaded. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Go listen to my other porn episodes if you want to hear more about pornography. This is our funny story before going to good in the world. A teen student in the UK was caught and suspended for selling pumps of hand sanitizer for 64 cents a pump. This cracks me up because he got suspended, which isn't funny. It's unfortunate he was suspended, but come on, why would you suspend this kid? This kid is freaking brilliant. He's making money and being a being just a common sense smart person making money out of a situation where people want hand sanitizer. Like, I get it. We're having issues where people are. I read this one story where this guy bought like 20,000 bottles of hand sanitizer and like went and drove like over 1,000 miles going through and buying out these places and then selling it on Amazon for crazy high prices. And like, I get it, but like, this kid was selling pumps for 64 cents. Like, it's a kid, it's not that big of a deal. He's not going out and buying out whole stores of hand sanitizer. So I think it's funny, and I don't think that this kid should be punished at all by his parents or the school. Unfortunately, he was probably, at least by the school, by being suspended for the day. But according to USA Today, he made just over $11 from his selling selling the 64 cents a squirt. And then it asked, what are the proceeds going to be used for? And the boy said he purchased a bag of Doritos and plans to buy a kebab with the rest of his cash. I don't know what that is, but maybe it's something in the UK that we don't have here. I don't know. But I just thought it was funny. I'm like, the kid made $11. Give him a break. It's not like he was charging $70 for a thing of hand sanitizer on Amazon. Like, come on, come on. Now moving on and ending with good in the world. And I want to leave you with a message of hope in a time that can feel scary, in a time that has a lot of misinformation, in a time where things don't feel secure. And, to be honest with you, even if you're not worried about the virus itself, and many of you are, especially with asthma or immune deficiency problems, many of you are very worried right now. And if you're not worried about the health parts, maybe you're perfectly healthy and you don't have anyone close to you that you're worried about. You're worried about the economic parts. Our economy is currently on the brink of suffering and coming to a complete meltdown. So I can understand that there are a ton of worries. Trust me, I have my own thoughts and worries and concerns about what this means for our economy and for our world and for our country as we know it. I don't know what the future is going to bring. But one of the things that is beautiful is usually and very frequently in a time of crisis, a lot of good comes together, and sometimes we can find the best in our humanity. One of the most beautiful videos I've been seeing lately is Italians in quarantine coming together at their windows and singing popular songs together. Just beautiful, uniting moment for Italians there. Another is I've seen a lot of posts for local businesses offering free lunches to kids. There was one specific, I believe, based in LA, where a company said, hey, we own 3 subways around here. If you go to this location, we're going to give all kids, free lunch. No, you don't have to purchase anything else. We just want to make sure that kids are fed, even if they're not in school. Beautiful acts of kindness. People going grocery shopping for the elderly, whether my elderly called them over and said, hey, please, we need this list of stuff. Will you go grocery shopping? Or people putting out a paper or an email or a Facebook post saying, if anybody needs help, they need grocery shopping, I will go do that for you. I will take care of that for you. People coming together and showing some of the best of their humanity. Of course, there's the worst as well, but focusing on the good. The truth is as Christians, if you are a Christian today, we have a chance to shine a light, to not put our light under a bushel, but to shine with the light of Christ, to be the salt of the earth. We have a chance, hopefully, that we take advantage of every day, but especially in a situation where people are worried and scared and unsure about maybe their jobs or the economy or even their health. We have a chance to teach God's message and to teach the message of love and redemption and salvation. And I would hope that we shine forth with God's light. In the Bible, it tells us hundreds of times to fear not. And, one of my favorite verses, especially in times where you're maybe worried or concerned, in Philippians 4:6-7, it says, do not be anxious about anything. It doesn't say, don't be anxious and lots of coronavirus. No, it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer, petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And I want to leave you with that today. write that down, memorize that, repeat that to yourself, pray daily, pray for those around you, pray that we find the light in a time that can feel troubling or uncertain, um, and show the love of Jesus Christ. God bless you. God bless America. God bless this world. My name is Elisa Steele. You're listening to Deconstructing the Culture. Hey there. So you're at the end of the podcast, and I'm going to ask you to please, if you haven't already, subscribe and leave a review. And if you've already done those two things and you're like, Elisa, I hear you say that every week, and I've already done that. What else do you want me to do? This is the time I would like to tell you what else I'd like you to do. No, I'm being serious though. Please share this with a friend, with a like minded friend, or maybe a friend who doesn't know much about the pro life movement or doesn't know much about the conservative movement. Maybe as an introduction, maybe to someone who is a tried and true conservative who you just feel like our personalities might resonate. Who knows? But I'm asking you to please take that next step and go ahead and share this with a friend or two or a dozen. I don't care. Actually, maybe 30, however you want. You be generous. You decide. All right. Thanks. Bye.